Tim Prister with Tim O'Malley at Oliver Field of the Culver Academy following Notre Dame's first practice of 2018 preseason. Tim, offensively, they weren't in pads, of course. This is a day to run around on a nice sunny hot day, get about 2.5 hours in. It is a quarterback receiver driven day.
Yeah, it's just really difficult to evaluate offensive linemen and running backs when you're not getting hit, so we take a lot of time to watch the QBs. Now there's 3 because of Phil Dracovic, and obviously the wide receivers are heavily involved. Immediately, Miles Boykin does stand out. I think Brian Kelly, I don't think we gave Brian Kelly enough credit in the spring where he said there's Miles Boykin and everybody else. Chase Claypool has closed the gap, according to Brian Kelly, but boy, Miles Boykin looks like the guy that made that catch. He made that catch a couple times today. He made a couple beautiful catches. He's a mismatch on the outside, and it's really going to help Notre Dame's offense. I thought Brandon Wimbush was doing better than other people around me did for about half the practice. And then it turned into bounce pass city for a little while. And they're the kinds that you can have one of those on a screen pass in a practice. So they were 3 or 4. But he did rebound, which I think is important when you're going 11 on 11. He got his accuracy back. We can't go by one practice. I just wonder how much better he will be in that short game because he looked pretty good in some situations where he was throwing mid-range balls.
Yeah, I thought Ian Book threw the ball very well also. I mean, there doesn't appear to be a huge drop-off when they go to number 2 at Ian Book. Phil Dracovic, however, has a bit of an unusual release of the football, which took me by surprise.
I don't remember it like that. Maybe I was just in awe of his athleticism in high school, and he was the best player on the field. It's not quite to this extreme, but it's a little like Phillip Rivers for the casual viewer to kind of think of. We're trying to put a fraction on it. We think it's a 5/8 release, right? It's not quite 3/4, but it does not come out overhand. I thought maybe it would be part of his short game. He's pretty, he gets the ball out quickly on athletic throws, but that's how he throws deep, short, mid-range shots. Now he's got a hose. The ball comes out pretty hard. There's one drop by Micah Jones where I think it might have killed him. Since he didn't catch it, he could be still breathing heavily right now. But Dracovic was kind of all over the place today with his accuracy. Sometimes, as you pointed out, it would nosedive. That might be a product of his release. It's also his first practice ever, and we asked Brian Kelly about that. I mean, he's not going to feel comfortable doing stuff out here yet.
I think that, I guess I'd call it a 3/4 release, and he kind of slings it. And the same way with a baseball, when you throw a football that way, it has a tendency to tail. So we'll see how that works out. Defensive side of the ball, I thought the most interesting thing that I saw today was the 3 for 2 at the inside linebacker positions and safety. Of course, Tavon Coney and Drew Tranquil at inside linebacker. But as Brian Kelly said at his press conference, Bo Bauer is heavily in the mix.
Yeah, I was watching offense, so you told me that. I was like, well, and John Jones. You're like, well.
No, I mean, Jones and Jim Markeith are as well. I mean, it's not that those guys are out of the mix, but when they went over on the other field and they were, it was kind of like the first team defense and the 1A defense. The 2 guys that got the young guys that got the most work were Houston Griffith on the back end with Jalen Elliott and Alohi Gilman, and then Bo Bauer at inside linebacker.
And I asked Coney about Jen Markeith because I thought, this is a guy transitioning from safety. How is that helping him? He just said, look, he is a natural athlete. He's a natural hitter. The scheme is going to come to him. He can play fast because he's learning from Drew, but putting a guy with that athleticism, he's going to be a player. That's what you and we don't know what happens if he has to get thrown in against Michigan for some reason, but he's a player down the line. It was a very important move they made in the spring, and it's going to be a 3-year move that's going to benefit them.
It's a great move. I think Jim Markeith is going to just naturally fill in as a starter next year and play good football, and it looks like he's ready to play good football now. The back end, the cornerbacks, I asked Brian Kelly about this. Julian Love and Troy Pride. I mean, Troy Pride in a lot of ways has more traits than Julian Love, and Julian Love made 1,001 plays last year. But Pride has the speed. He can press at the line of scrimmage. He's an outstanding player. Those 2 cornerbacks are really, really good.
He looks like a completely different player. He is so confident, and Brian Kelly mentioned he's so much stronger. He is lightning fast. There was only one. This isn't a fair one because it wasn't a great throw and it was in a drill, but when Braden Lenzy, who can fly, by the way. When Braden Lenzy went deep, Troy Pride he was wearing him. He was a jersey. He was just inside his jersey. And that's technique of a junior 3-year starter versus just a guy that's extremely fast. And I will reiterate, Braden Lenzy is very fast. He needs to get some weight and strength, but boy, when he gets it, he can go. But Troy Pride, if you just went to look out here, that's the guy to say, wow, who's that guy if this is your first time out here?
That's a great matchup. That's speed on speed. But as you said, it takes technique to be able to stay with that. And as Brian Kelly said, and he reiterated this in the spring as well, Troy Pride's a much stronger football player now, and that allows him to be a much better cornerback. Well, that's it from the Culver Academies. Our next opportunity to watch Notre Dame practice will be back in South Bend on Wednesday the 8th, I believe. Prior to that, we'll have a podcast on Monday. So that's it from the Culver Academies.